Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about what links us together with certain people and why we feel that link, and then why other times we don't, and how that changes as we go. I started filming this somewhere else and I got interrupted, so I thought I'll slice them together, and then I decided maybe it's best to start over. And so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to start over and we're going to go through it again because I don't know if I was exactly where I wanted to be with it. So, what links us to people and how that starts to shift as we go. And it's not so much that the link changes, our perception, our consciousness of what the link is starts to change, which gives us more freedom in the end. Whereas at the beginning, when we feel that pull to someone, when we feel that our human consciousness is going to call it an attraction. When we feel that attraction to a person, when we feel that drawn to someone, we can feel a little bit imprisoned by that and there's different reasons for that. We don't see them yet as soul contracts. We just feel like it's someone we're attracted to, whether it's, even if it's a friendship, it's just someone you kind of feel drawn to. You want to talk to them. You end up in the same place that they are. You end up in the same space that they are. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Pardon the interruption. So we feel just drawn to certain people. We feel that link to certain people. We feel that we're supposed to be around certain people, and we don't really understand it at the time. We don't understand soul contracts yet. We don't understand everything's been predetermined. We don't have that. In its simplest form, it just feels like a draw to someone, and we feel like we're going to feel that way forever, and then all of a sudden we don't feel that way anymore. People will call it, in our human dimension, we called it falling out of love. All of a sudden you wanted to be around this person. If it was a friend group, we say, oh, we outgrew it, and all of a sudden we don't resonate with them anymore. We really don't understand why, and we just feel like it's kind of the changes of life, because all of a sudden we wanted to be somewhere, then we don't anymore, and then we move on to the next thing, and then we don't want to be there anymore, and everything keeps moving and changing. And what we don't realize at the time is we're the ones that are moving and changing. Our frequency is moving and changing, and as our frequency moves and changes, the people that we feel linked to changes, because at the end of the day, we are bound by the energetic signature of those people. And our energetic signature is similar to theirs. And that is what draws us in. And that is why we feel certain pulls to some people. Now, I did a video a while back about loving someone's consciousness, but not really liking their energy. And at the same time, really liking someone's energy and wanting to be around them, but not liking their consciousness, and the more conscious we become, that the consciousness of the other person becomes a big sticking point. And if we stay or develop a reality with someone, it's not so much their energy anymore. Whereas in our human realities, that was enough. If I feel this strong energetic pull, that's enough. But then it's not enough anymore. It comes down to the consciousness of the person, and can I really stay in a relationship with someone who is completely unconscious when perhaps we're in a different part of our journey and we are, going through our own ascension process. So how we start to pick partners starts to change in a sense, and we don't pick them on the same things anymore. We go specifically by, and this is where it's going to get a little tricky, we go specifically by the purpose of the relationship. That doesn't mean we love their energy. If we see a purpose in being there, we will be there. And when we hit certain points of ascension, that is how we get drawn in a sense. We feel that. We feel the pull to these people. We feel we're supposed to be there. Maybe not forever, normally not forever. But in our human consciousness, we saw it differently. We thought we were drawn in because of how they looked, and we were very much into the physical aspect of things, when it has nothing to do with that. That is just how our human paints it, because it sees it very linearly, very physically. That is the concept of our human belief system, and that the physical stuff matters. So if we like a person, it has to be something about them physically we like. That's the belief system we're under when we're in our human consciousness. We don't realize later, until we're through our awakening, through our ascension, it has nothing to do with how they look. It's the energetic signature that they hold. And that signature shifts as we shift, as we work through programming. We get drawn to people to help us work through our stuff. You know, whether you're in soulmates, whether you're in galactic family, whether you were in, which is totally different. You know, soulmates, we might love their energy, but they might not be the same consciousness we are, but we feel like they're soulmates. Galactic family, we really don't want to be around them. We don't really like their energy. That has to do with a lot of the galactic war stuff we carry with us, that certain people we will work with, but we don't need to huddle up with them forever, because we just don't want to be with them forever. So you start to see and start to segregate people out, in a sense, as to how they fall, you know, how they fall and how they really start to I don't want to say we separate them off, because we really eventually unify everyone together, but I do think there is a part of this where we do separate everybody off to categorize them in some way, so we get an idea of what's going on. It's more of a learning process for us to kind of sit there and put people in different buckets, in a sense, put people in a different section. You know, I understand this is a soulmate, I understand this is a twin flame relationship, I understand I have more than just one. Now, at the time, we don't realize we have so many. Okay, this is a video of many interruptions, which is also how I guess our relationships go too, because we're many iterations of them. You know, I would always say we would talk about twin flames as sort of a subset. You know, it's like we'd have galactic family, we'd have soulmates, then on top of the soulmates, we'd have twin flames. Because they got special attention, you know, they got passes for things. They were not held to the same standards that we would hold other people to. They got special treatment because we felt a special draw. We felt like they were more special than everybody else. These are just different phases we go through, and it takes us a while to understand that technically everyone's a twin flame, technically everyone's a twin. Because everyone's an aspect of us. It might be an aspect we really like about ourselves, and as we transcend those aspects, these people either shift to a different aspect or they just leave. You know, it never ceased to amaze me how, when I transcended a certain aspect, how quickly certain people would fall away. And it could have been someone you knew for 20 years, and all of a sudden just one day they were gone, you never heard from them again. Because the energetic signature no longer linked us together. We no longer had that link anymore. We technically were in different earths. We were in a different dimension now, because we had transcended that, and now we were somewhere else, and they didn't exist in that timeline. They were no need to be there anymore. They were going and doing their thing, and they're the timeline they were in, and the frequency they were working with on their own ascension path, whether that be, you know, 5 or 10 years, I'm going to say behind, but just in a different era of when they were going to do their ascension. And it never ceased to amaze me how quickly people would just kind of drop off. And the same thing with jobs. You know, we feel the same. You know, you go to a certain place and you'd have, you know, different people you'd meet there. And as soon as you outgrew that and your consciousness became where, and basically what happens is our body's frequency clears so much of that signature, so much of that energy link, so much of those distortions, that our body gets to a certain frequency where we can't stay anymore. We physically can't exist there anymore. It's now hampering what we need to go do. So the minute anything starts to hamper your ascension process, it quickly gets removed. Whether you get ripped from a job, you get, you know, fired from a job, you just quit the job, you know, one day you go in and the whole place is closed down. You'll be the same thing with friendships, the same thing with lovers. It doesn't matter. When it's done, it's done. When the link is severed, the link is severed in a sense. Now, I'm going to come back to that because there is one thing I want to talk about that link. There's no more purpose in it anymore. You know, we've done what we're supposed to do, and some people would say, okay, the contract has been filled, and now us staying around, we're just hampering ourselves. We can only do that for so long, and our universe will close it down because we don't need to be there anymore. Now, you will find that you're going to change how you feel about all this stuff as you go. You know, you're going to at one point see people as galactic family. You're going to see them as soulmates. You're going to see them as twin flames. And then, oh, there's only one twin flame. No, wait, everyone's a twin flame. No, wait, I've had multiple twin flames in my life. And they all maybe look the same. You know, a lot of us would say that they look similar. That way we could pick them out. We didn't have to wonder, you know, they all look the same. You might have had one that came in that looked totally different. And they didn't look the way that they had looked before. You know, all of a sudden they don't look the same anymore. We have a different type now. You know, something is drastically shifted in the what we look for. But these are just kind of markers we set for ourselves, and you notice them more in your human consciousness. But we kind of go back and laugh at that and say mine all look the same. You know, all of them look almost exactly the same because it's easier for us to pick them out. Kind of a running joke when you go through your human relationships to see how similar they all were. As the links sever and as the energetic, you basically clear that energy signature from your body, you know, and all of a sudden someone you used to be so drawn to, you don't feel that anymore. You know, people would almost call it, in our human dimension, it'd be like, oh, we just got over that person. It's not so much we get over the person, it's just that all of a sudden the link is clear. You know, we clear the program, we clear the reason they were there, we clear the role of roles we were playing. We weren't able to shift the roles. We were stuck in the roles we played, and once those roles played out, it was over. And severing the purpose, severing the link. Now, technically, we can never sever the link because the minute we're technically linked to everybody, you know, and there's no one you can't link to, and you can't check in on, and you can't energetically ping if you want to, because everyone's the same and we're all one. That gets more into, we get into unity consciousness. We get into everyone. What's another way I want to say it? You see it a lot as unity conscious, one consciousness. We're all the same. You know, there's no separation. One is not more special than anybody else. You technically have the same connection to a stranger as you do with, you know, someone in your blood family. There's no difference there. We only see the difference because we set it up as that. But once we start breaking down those beliefs, we realize there is no difference between us. Everyone is the same. And that's when our compassion really comes through, because we realize what we do to others, we in a way do to ourselves, because everyone is connected. We raise our vibration. We're changing the vibration of the earth by doing that. Everyone who links to us now is affected by our vibration. And the links so much don't matter anymore because we're all linked together. And it's not the same type of, what's the word I want to use? It's not the same type of bondage, in a sense, that we kind of can feel in the beginning. I see so many people get so just consumed by the whole twin flame matrix, you know, and it just kind of keeps us more and more trapped. And I kind of did the same when I was in that part of the process. And some people take years and years and years to break out of it. You know, they just want to stay in that, the whole fairy tale of the whole thing. And once we realize why they're really there, and they're here to help us clear, and once we clear that, we're going to move on and we'll clear something else. And you might need another person to come in to help you do that. You might have a different aspect of that person to come in and help you do that. But we kind of keep moving. The links in it keeps changing. Our frequencies change. All of a sudden, the frequency and the people in that frequency are different than the people that were in the frequency we were in before. And that happens when our body frequency starts to change. You know your body frequency is shifting when a lot of stuff starts shifting outside. Before those points, we're really just in higher consciousness frequencies. And our body hasn't really shifted that much. It's shifting, but not to the same extent. When it starts shifting to that stronger, stronger is probably not the word I want to use. When we start shifting our body's vibration, it starts to raise. That's when we see things really shift. People go away. You might have no one in your reality for a long period of time, and there's reasons for that. We're establishing a different set point for our body. We're having to go on our own. You know, we can't be sovereign beings if we're huddled up around 15 other people all the time. That's what humans do. That's what people in human consciousness do. We don't do that. You know, you find you need a lot of space, you need a lot of time, you don't want to be around people. And some people used to want to be around, you can't be around them anymore because you've transcended the link. You no longer have that energetic signature anymore. It's cleared. You kind of cleared that program. You can look at it a lot of different ways, but no, everyone comes in to help you clear. And if they stay around, it's because you're going to set up a new agreement for them to be there, a new purpose for them to be there, where everyone's going to benefit from that purpose. It's no longer lopsided things. Pretty much all of our relationships, one time or the other, are lopsided. Whether it's because we are in our human conscious and don't realize how lopsided they are, whether we're starting our ascension process or in really far into our ascension process where we know they're lopsided, but we also know we're supposed to be here and we're supposed to carry the load for a while until we don't anymore. And then we move on from that. There's a lot of moving on, severing cords, watching your energetic signatures change and getting deeper in. And that's really what you're doing. You're going deeper inside and you're finding more and more stuff in there, different energy signatures, different things that unlock different codes in your body. It's not just one person. It's never going to be just one person. We can't take one person and put them on a pedestal, even though we'll all do it from one point or the other in our process. I'll guarantee you'll do it with somebody, because we all do it because we all fall into that trap that they're the only one. You know, even if we've had 10 before that, they were the only ones too. But what links us to people is our consciousness and what we're supposed to do together. And most of the time what we're supposed to do together is to clear. Until we get to a certain part of ascension, we're not creating with people. We can try to create with people, create certain things, but you'll find until you reach certain parts of ascension, you're really still clearing programming. You're not really, and we're always going to be clearing programming, but meaning that it's the dominant reason you're there is to clear the programming. You don't really get into relationships where the whole reason is to create and we're clearing programming as we go as it comes up, but it doesn't hamper what we're trying to create. When we're in a lot of these relationships, clearing the programming is the reason we're there, and what we're trying to create in a way is kind of a sidebar. And when that starts to shift, you bring in people just to create. And if there's a program that comes up, if there's something that comes up, we're going to deal with it right then. But it's not the main focus in a sense, even though technically it is. Always clean programming is going to be the main focus because that's how we raise our vibration. But it's not the headliner in a sense. It's kind of the byproduct for a while. So no matter how you're viewing people, you know, whether you're still in a human consciousness viewing them as just, you know, these are just people I'm randomly meeting, whether you're in the consciousness of understanding, no, I'm supposed to connect with these people. Sometimes we'll see them in the dream state first. A lot of people I would see in the dream state first, and then they come in. You also kind of start getting prepared for that. We see them, we know they're coming. Sometimes you'll see people and they never quite come in. They never kind of come in that same way. They might come in as friends where you saw them in a different capacity because you're seeing them in a different dimension where there was a different relationship. And we have to kind of be open to seeing a lot of stuff, but not fixating on any of it, on how people are going to come in, how long they're going to stay. A lot of times they're not going to stay for long periods of time. Most people are not going to. Ascension is very much a sovereign journey. You're going to do a lot of it by yourself because you have to get to certain places with it. And a lot of people just kind of come in, and you'll find more people kind of come in the beginning, and, you know, and as you're ending old relationships, you don't find the new ones coming in. And I know I was at a point where I had so many things ending that when someone would come in, you almost want to grab onto them because you're like, oh, finally somebody's here. But even that wasn't, you kind of go to a point where we're shifting too fast, and people can't keep up, and that's because they're not supposed to. They're on a different timeline than we are. They're in a different dimension than we are. They're in a different planetary alignment than we are. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but when you're in a different timeline, it doesn't matter. Technically, they never existed in the one you're in. That's why we don't really mourn it, and sometimes you will find you mourn. And sometimes you find you don't even feel any remorse for it. It's kind of tricky in that way. Feel like you want to mourn the relationships, we mourn them. But sometimes you won't feel like you need to mourn the relationships. You feel like you're fine. You know, it doesn't really matter for whatever reason. And that can be kind of feeling kind of a coldness. And I found that the galactic relationships, when they ended, I didn't feel so much the need to mourn them because they're a totally different connection. It doesn't mean you don't feel the connection. It's just a totally different connection. than soulmates. And like I said, technically everyone's a twin, technically everyone's a soulmate. We're gonna break it down for these videos just to help you understand the process you go through when you do feel really linked to people, and when the links are severed and you don't feel it, or you can call it the cords. You feel really corded to someone. I like links better because we have the energetic link, similar signatures. When we clear the distortions of some of those signatures, these people go with them. They don't stay around. You know, they have to go. So I think I'm going to end it at that. I don't think there's anything else I want to throw in. I think that's about it. Don't get bogged down on who they are, what we're going to call them. You know, don't worry about that. Don't worry about any of that. Be open to who's coming in. Be open to, can you see the purpose they're there for? Be open to when their purpose is done, and can you see why they have to go? Can it be shifted? And a lot of times, to me, it was easier to close out the old ones and start new with someone else and try to take something that had ended and try to morph it into something else. I had none of those really succeed. Maybe one that's kind of dragged on, but there's different reasons for that. There's children involved in that relationship, and I don't know if their children were not involved there, if that would have evolved, but there's a different purpose to that. You know, there's an underlying purpose of the agreement with the children there. So you might find people who you have children with, that all of a sudden there's a link there, even though you've moved so far away from that person, there's still a purpose to that, and they kind of stay in there, but the relationship completely changes, and things just start to shift in such a massive way if we give them the organic breath to do that. A lot of times we don't want to give it the organic breath to shift. We want to kind of stay on it, you know, we don't want it to move, because we don't want to say goodbye to it. And that's a big one for a lot of us. We don't want to say goodbye to it. So, like I said, to me, sometimes it was easier to separate out everybody to see how everybody felt. I could understand it better. I could process the endings better. I could process what I'd seen in the dream state, because that is our first glimpse into multidimensionality, the realities we can create. And I could see it. I could understand it. And then you feel like you're still connected to them. You know, we're still linked to everybody. It's just more our mind feels that I don't have that same, we don't have the human connection. We don't have the human cord. We don't have the pull. We don't have the draw. We don't have the misery of that. We're still linked to them with our consciousness because we're all one. So if you want to feel them, you can feel them. You kind of bring them inside in a sense, because they're still just part of you. You know, it's really no different whether people leave because of death or they just leave because they're in a different timeline than you're in now, in a different consciousness, in a different frequency. They're still part of you, or they never could have been there in the first place. So I think now that's a good place to end it. I do apologize for all the interruptions. And keep practicing the art of intuition.